I'll start.
First.
Yeah. Oh,
So
pardon?
do you want to do the refrain first? Can you show
Yeah,
me
let's
how it
do the
is?
refrain first. Yeah.
How you thought of it?
I just thought of it as oh, Mr. Sun, work harder, shine brighter. You left children's tears a-shining today. Come back tomorrow, bring down your power. Drive up those tears that wash souls away. I apologize, my glasses aren't working well. Okay, so that's, can we read it together just for fun? Okay. Oh, Mr. Sun, work harder, shine brighter. You left children's tears a-shining today. Come back tomorrow, bring down your power. Dry up those tears that wash souls away. Stepped outside my front door, blocks from the I-5 corridor, rode my bike to the coffee shop, hit a light where I had to stop, watched a motel action scene, saw a girl, not yet a teen, her pimp close by collected cash, her head forced down below the dash.
Old Mr. Sun, work
harder, shine brighter. You left children's tears a-shining today. Come back tomorrow, bring down your power. Dry up those tears that wash souls away.
I'm lost. Can you find me? No home for warmth. Love left behind me, taken by lies. Belief in a fairy tale, confused by promises. Is this love? Behaved, braved, coerced to please? Old Mr. Sun, work harder, shine brighter. You left children's tears a-shining today. Come back tomorrow, bring down your power. Dry up those tears that wash souls away.
A friend who traveled to Siam told me about a local sham. Kids as young as 5 or in their teens traded for food or new blue jeans. The village headman gets a take. If only kids, it's only kids who are at stake. It's the whole village he must look out for as he puts coins in his coffer.
Oh, Mr. Sun, work harder, shine brighter. You left children's tears a-shining today. Come back tomorrow, bring down your sorrow. Dry up those tears that wash souls away.
I'm lost. Can you find me? Big city, small town, daughters gone missing. Trust Cinderella myths, tall stories by boys groomed to doom their futures. Destroy what's left of innocence, break what's left of spirit. Old
Mr. Sun, work harder, shine brighter. You left children's tears a-shining today. Come back tomorrow, bring down your power. Dry up those tears that wash souls away.
Alaskan villages, I'm told, out in the bush where it's always cold, old ways have become very skewed. Rites of passage, cruel, lewd. The elders, once proud, strong and brave, opt in ways, twisted, depraved. Boundaries degraded, fallen down, and now the children are alone.
Oh, Mr. Sun, work harder, shine brighter. You left children's tears a-shining today. Come back tomorrow, bring down your power. Dry up those tears that wash souls away.
I'm lost. Can you find me? Don't say I'm barking up the wrong tree. There is no tree house, no bark or bite left in me, only wailing in the early morning hours. Another cigarette, another beating. I remember Mama pouring milk on cornflakes, brushing my hair for school.
Oh, Mr. Sun, work harder, shine brighter. You left children's tears a-shining today. Come back tomorrow, bring down your power. Dry up those tears that wash souls away.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eileen. And Eileen has really been inspiring those of us in the Ghost Town poetry community for several years. And I really can't recommend her 2 books, Prodigal Cowgirl and Miles of Pies, more strongly. I really think you should check them out. They're very good. And I'm from Long Island, New York, and so reading those poems about the Midwest, I mean, it's an education for me. And I do think that poems of place are one way to sort of operate or to sort of narrow the focus of your work, and one way to bring people in too, because it turns out that there are regional differences, but just like how you could appreciate something from Japan or India, there are also the things that connect us as humans. So I really appreciate what I've learned about the Midwest culture through your work, Eileen. Thank you. So now we're going to shift gears slightly, but as I said, I really feel that William Stafford fits into what we're up to here today. And I think what I'm going to do is, because I don't know what our feature George Thomas has planned, I'll say a little bit about Stafford afterwards, after he does his thing, just so that I don't step on anything. But I do want to tell you a little bit about George. George Thomas earned an MFA at Eastern Washington University. He has founded and edited 2 magazines and a microzine. One of those is Eastern's Willow Springs, and his books include Tenderfoot and Grey House by Cold Mountain. Also 2 books that are really great. I really enjoyed those. And his work has appeared in publications in England and the US, most recently in Ghost Town Poetry Volume 2, which is also for sale here. Please welcome George Thomas.
I didn't plan on giving any history of William Stafford, so I have a tenuous connection to him, and that's what this is about. In that, first I want to talk about Robert Frost just for a moment, in that Robert Frost was the poet who first taught me how a poem could speak about one thing and meanwhile be speaking about another thing. The power of metaphor and analogies. And Robert Frost was the first person I understood that about. And then when I came west, now this was when I lived back east on the other side of the Mississippi, I came out here, and the first time I read William Stafford, I said, oh, he's the Robert Frost of the West. There's something, of course, he might rather be say, oh, Frost is the William Stafford of the East. I mean, you could say it either way, because I think there's a book to be written. I don't know if anybody has, and I'm not about to do it, but of their comparison. Seriously, I think there's some very interesting stuff. So I have 1 poem by Frost and 1 poem by Stafford, and just 2 of mine. And my connection to Stafford is when I got my MFA, you're allowed to choose outside poet and ask them to read your manuscript and comment. And I picked William Stafford. So this is the hardbound copy of my manuscript, and his eyes, William Stafford's eyes, have actually, not this one, but the manuscript. And that's my connection, in that I really have always admired Robert Frost and Stafford. And this is the Frost poem, is Acquainted with the Night. Now, many people think of Frost, the swingers of birches and mending fences, and a lot of those nature-oriented poems. And this is one of the only really depressing ones. No, there are others.
At least a couple, right?
Yeah. I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. I have stood still and stopped the sound of feet, when far away an interrupted cry came over houses from another street, but not to call me back or say goodbye. And further still, at unearthly height, one luminary clock against the sky proclaimed the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night. And now a Stafford poem, and it opened, I'm going to forget now, it opened, I think it was the book was Traveling Through the Night, and I think he got a Pulitzer or a National Book Award for this book, Traveling Through
the Dark. Yeah. 1962, I have that on here.
And this is the opening poem of this book, and this is dark too. I love dark. I mean, everybody else can have Mary Poppins. I'll take King Lear. That's just the way I am. Anyhow, traveling through the dark, I found a deer, dead on the edge of the Wilson River Road. It is usually best to roll them into the canyon. That road is narrow. To swerve might make more dead. By glow of the taillight, I stumbled back of the car and stood by the heap, a doe, a recent killing. She had stiffened already, almost cold. I dragged her off. She was large in the belly. My fingers touching her side brought me the reason. Her side was warm. Her fawn lay there waiting, alive, still, never to be born. Beside that mountain road, I hesitated. The car aimed ahead, its lowered parking lights. Under the hood purred the steady engine. I stood in the glare of the warm exhaust turning red. Around our group, I could hear the wilderness listen. I thought hard for all of us, my only swerving, then pushed her over the edge into the river. The two poems I'm going to read, I find they're interesting because they're World War II poems. And I was born in 1937, and so I was 4 years old when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and my folks got divorced. And I was raised by my grandparents for the next 5 years. Well, my dad was off doing war work and my mother was gone. And I was orphaned. For about 4 years I felt orphaned. And so, these poems are about my recovery from this period, and they're in World War II terms because that's where I was really an infant and a young toddler and that. And I think that's it. I always have in my mind that while I was this kid, raised by my grandparents, William Stafford was out being a conscientious objector to this war. So this is another connection I feel to Stafford. And so these are two very short poems. This is called Detail from a Combat Flight. And I don't know how many of you love World War II movies and all the dog fights with all the planes going like this. And that kind of influenced what's this movement. Frontally, from the left and above, he dove in out of the sun. I saw his tracers first, orange, looking for me in slow curves that seared in and sailed past. I rolled up and right and over and into a curve of my own down that brought the horizon into my canopy upside down. I dove through its shedded clouds, looking for safety in low altitudes. The tracers still curved past, now from behind, burning out and vanishing toward Earth. When they hit, there was a jolt. The stick went loose, flame, and a slow loss of control, tightening into a dead spin. I gave it up, drifted through the black smoke trail of my own burning, the hazed earth dangling below, details sharpening as I came in, first the vineyard, then the vines, finally the grapes, crushed in my landing. Jolted, I lay still in the hot sun, out of which he'd come, looking at the dusty grapes and the green dark vines. There was only a light tug of shrouds to remind me where I'd been, and the soft dirt warm against my back. I took a hot grape in my hand and ate, felt the seed grits against my teeth, its warm juice in my throat. When I stood, the earth was right side up. And the last is a little more humorous. I'm reading the originals. I actually did a little remodeling of these two poems, but I'm reading the ones that William Stafford actually looked at. So, this is called Armistice Day. Seeking all that Jack bored in and flew his crated battleships. I never knew his fate till afterwards. The right that took him in and launched him out. Third row center in my chosen darkness. Stuffed with popcorn, I threw candy at the girls overhead behind my back and never dared to turn and see my targets hit. Newsreels, movies full of popcorn and shrapnel blast, crying women and black-white men. I bought it all for 50 cents. The sweetness and the right I failed to put a name to, that bore on in and hit to home. Till now, when I sit halfway back and watch myself cruise clean and womanless, like battleships in war, and feel the sweetness boring through the air, and wait the kamikaze blast.
Thank you so much, George. And I really don't think there should be any embarrassment about the tenuous relationship to William Stafford, and here's the reason why. Several years ago, I was invited for the first time to, organize one of the January William Stafford birthday events, and I explained to them that I hadn't read very much William Stafford. I wasn't really familiar with his work. And they said, that's okay. And I mean, it turns out that the Friends of William Stafford, who organized those events, one of the reasons that they organize the birthday events every year is to educate people and let people know who Stafford was and make them more familiar with his work. So as far as I know, it has never actually been a requirement of the William Stafford events that the featured readers have any knowledge of Stafford whatsoever, although obviously many of them have, and many of them studied with him or knew him personally, but just so that people are aware that is a part of this tradition too, is to have people who still feel, and I still feel after several years, I'm still getting to know Stafford's work, and like the best poets, it's a lifetime process of reading and rereading the work to really get to know it. So no requirement at all that one be an expert of any kind. Thank goodness, or else I wouldn't have done it either, So a little bit about William Stafford. He was born in Hutchinson, Kansas in 1914. He worked a variety of manual jobs during the Depression, and in 1942 was registered as a conscientious objector and interned in civilian public service camps in Arkansas and California. His career as a poet and educator was shaped by his experience of hard physical labor and by the discipline and cooperative ethos of camp life, where he began his lifelong habit of daily writing in the early hours. Stafford is a really good example of a person who started writing relatively late in life. And we have this awful thing in our culture about that you have to have everything figured out and be started in your career by 15 to 20 or something, and then it's all downhill from there, which is crap. And one of the things that really proves that to me every moment is seeing within my own community of poets, people picking it up at 50, 60, 70, and some of these people becoming some of the best that we have. So, he really wasn't a writer as a young man. It's something that happened for him later on. So, Stafford, as George was mentioning, his volume called Traveling Through the Dark, which came out in 1962, won the National Book Award. In '64, he was awarded the Poetry Society of America's prestigious Shelley Award, and in 1970, he was named consultant in poetry to the Library of Congress. And 4 years later, in 1974, Governor Tom McCall appointed him Oregon's 4th Poet Laureate. One of the things that also happens at the Stafford events is a kind of a Stafford open mic, and so I thought what I would do is just read a couple of Stafford poems to get us started on that. And the first one was written in between the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and it's called The Sound, Summer 1945. Not a loud sound, the buzz of the rattlesnake, but urgent, making the heart pound a loud drum. Somewhere in dead weeds by a dry lake, on cracked earth, flat in the sun. The living thing left raises fanged head, tormented and nagged by the drought, and stares past a planet that's dead, with anger and death in its mouth. That was written August 3rd, 1945. And this one from a bit later is called, this is from 1993, You Reading This, Be Ready. And I think I should just check, was there anyone out there who wanted to read that poem? Because I don't need to if you already had it going. All right, I like this a lot. You reading this, be ready. Starting here, what do you want to remember? How sunlight creeps along a shining floor? What scent of old wood hovers? What softened sound from outside fills the air? Will you ever bring a better gift for the world than the breathing respect that you carry wherever you go right now? Are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts? When you turn around, starting here, lift this new glimpse that you found. Carry into evening all that you want from this day. This interval you spent reading or hearing this, keep it for life. What can anyone give you greater than now, starting here, right in this room, when you turn around? Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Okay, so I know this is a little weird to do it this way, but can I see by a show of hands who was hoping to read something in the open mic portion of things so I know what to expect? Okay, we have one. All right, so this is Jennifer Pratt-Walter, who is a writer and a photographer and a musician here in Vancouver, and please welcome Jennifer Pratt-Walter.
Thank you so much. So my connection to William Stafford, unfortunately, I never got to meet him personally. I got invited to a poetry event that he was at, and I did not attend it, to my great dismay. But I took a workshop with his son, Kim, over 5 days, and the workshop culminated on a New Year's Eve poetry music combination at the stroke of midnight, so I feel very honored. One thing my husband and I did 3 years ago was we did a pilgrimage on the North Cascade route where the Forest Service had set 7 or 8 of his poems at certain areas along that drive in the Migdal Valley. We found about 5 out of 7 were left. So this one is called A Valley Like This. Sometimes you look at an empty valley like this, and suddenly the air is filled with snow. That is the way the whole world happened. There was nothing, and then. But maybe sometime you will look out, and even the mountains are gone. The world become nothing again. What can a person do to help bring back the world? We have to watch it, and then look at each other. Together, we hold it close and carefully save it, like a bubble that can disappear if we don't watch out. Please think about this as you go on. Breathe on the world. Hold out your hands to it. When mornings and evenings roll along, watch how they open and close. how they invite you to the long party that your life is. Thank you.
So some of you may be aware that I'm a rather busy individual, involved in a lot of things here in the community. That's why I was really glad that this was the centennial year, because it's a pretty busy year for me, and usually the events for Stafford happen in January. And so I had the whole year to plan one, and I loved the idea of combining with 100,000 Poets for Change. But since we're toward the end of the year, that means that there will be Stafford birthday events happening coming soon in a few months, and I am working on one that will take place at the main branch of the library here in downtown Vancouver. So please come down for that. I also want to mention we're here in Angst Gallery. Angst Gallery is owned by Leah Jackson, who also owns Niche Wine and Art Bar next door. And I make sure whenever I have an opportunity at an event at either of these venues to just acknowledge her and thank her for about a decade now, close to a decade. Leah has provided a venue for me to plan poetry events and do poetry and music events, and also a series of bilingual poetry events, which was something that I really wanted to do in Vancouver for quite some time. So we really appreciate them making this space available for us, and it appears it will be available to us for as long as we would like to use it. So I just want to say goodnight with one more poem by William Stafford. And then we can, if you need a second glass of wine, you can get a second glass. This is one, oh, here it is. One of the things that I learned from one of my teachers, Anne Waldman, is that your poetic lineage, once you find out who it was who had the same concerns as you, who had similar aesthetics or things that they were trying to do with their work, once you find out who those people are, that's something that can be as strong as a family tree. And you're sort of plugged in then to a tradition that you can explore, spend the rest of your life exploring. One of the things that allows that to be possible and to be such a powerful thing in poets' lives is the way that a good poem will stay relevant, because although the world does change, there are certain things about the world that do not change, such as war making, for example, does not appear it's going to go anywhere, right? So it amazes me that this poem by William Stafford was written in 1958 or thereabouts, could have been written a lot more recently than that. Our city is guarded by automatic rockets, breaking every law except the one for go. Rolling its porpoise way, the rocket staggers on its course. Its feelers lock a stranglehold ahead, and rocking, finders whispering target, target, back and forth, relocating all its meaning in the dark, it freezes on the final stage. I know that lift and pour, the flick out of the sky, and then the power. Power is not enough. Bow, touching, till the shore, a lake, an undecided river, and a lake again, saddling the divide. A world that won't be wise and let alone, but instead is found outside by little channels, linked by chance, not stern. And then, when once we're sure we hear a guide, it fades away toward the opposite end of the road, from home. A world that goes wrong in order to have revenge. Our lives are an amnesty given us. There is a place behind our hill so real it makes me turn my head, no matter. There, in the last thicket, lies the cornered cat, saved by its claws, now ready to spend all there is left of the wilderness, embracing in blood. And that is the way that I will spit life, at the end of any trail where I smell any hunter, because I think our story should not end, or go on in the dark with nobody listening. William Stafford. So thank you to George Thomas, Toni Partington and Eileen Elliott for being here tonight, and for all of you for your energy. Thank you, Jennifer, for reading a Stafford poem for us. And thank you to Tiffany Berberstram for being our videographer. And that means that if you're curious about the poetry that's happening here in Vancouver, there are a ton of videos on YouTube to see performances that I've given, but also other people in the community. And for a long time now, at least half a year, possibly more, because the time goes so fast, she's been also documenting the Ghost Town Poetry Open Mic. The next one of those is October 9th at Cover to Cover Books. And next weekend, I will be here next door at Niche giving the workshop that I do once a month there. So if you're interested in that, you can talk to me about that. So thanks again to all of you and to Angst Gallery, and we'll see you again here for the next poetry reading. Have a great night. Thanks.